The Red Rock 4x4 Baja style upper replacement grill that we have here today would be a great choice for the 15 through 17 F-150 owners who might be going for that Raptor styling but in black and would prefer to keep your factory blue oval emblem proudly displayed right in the center. Now this grill will pack a durable automotive grade ABS plastic build along with a very sleek gloss black finish and LED accent lighting, all for right around $200. Site's gonna call this a strong 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, maybe a couple of hours of your time to complete from start to finish. But if you hang with me for a bit, we'll walk you through that job later in the video. So swapping grills on your F-150 is a relatively easy and in some cases inexpensive way to totally change up the look of the front end and really just switch up the entire vibe of the truck. Now on that same topic, one of the nice things in particular about the grill category is just the sheer number of options you guys have when it comes to going with something mild to wild and really everything in between. In fact, as always, I'm going to recommend browsing our selection here at AmericanTrucks.com for your 2015 through 2017 truck just to get a better sense of what I'm talking about. Now this particular option again to me is gonna be 1 part OE Raptor style or Raptor grill and another part 2018 F-150 grill thanks to that bold bar spanning the width of the grill itself, which to me is gonna give off a little bit more of that modern vibe while still, more importantly, retaining that iconic blue oval emblem. Something, by the way, not every grill offers. Now, as far as that Raptor inspiration is concerned, well, pretty clear, right? You got the same kind of honeycomb design going on, along with those telltale amber LED running lights that we'll install here along the top. Materials are going to be very similar to that of your factory grill as well. In fact, you're looking at the durable ABS plastic, very lightweight, very strong stuff, but in this case finished off in a gloss black paint, which has been designed, by the way, the entire grill using OEM Ford CAD data, which basically is just going to allow this grill to fit perfectly like a factory part with any gaps or imperfections. Now, last but not least, again, the grill does include 3 amber LED running lights to install in these holes up top here, along with all of the wiring needed to get them up and running simply by tapping them into your headlights. Now again, the wires will tap into the running portion of your headlights, meaning they're basically going to illuminate anytime your parking lights or your running lights or those headlights have been switched on. But now let's shift gears and talk a little bit more about that install, and straightforward for the most part. Obviously, you will need to remove your factory grill first, swap out that Ford emblem, and then get the new grill in place, followed by your wiring. But to give you a better idea how exactly things will go down on your F-150 at home, here's a detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown now.
The tools needed for this installation: wire stripper and crimper, plastic panel tool, clip removal tool, Phillips screwdriver, 10mm socket, 8mm socket, 7mm socket, T30 Torx, an extension, ratchet, and optional magnetic tool. Hey guys, I'm going to go through the installation of our grill on our 2016 F-150. It's a pretty easy installation. Let's get started. Okay guys, first thing we're going to do, since we have our hood open, is we're going to remove the 10 push clips up top to remove the support cover up top here so we can get to the bolts and the wiring harness underneath to start removing our grill. Make sure you keep these because we're going to reuse them for the installation. So you want to make sure you don't let these go. We'll need them to put them all back on. So now that we've removed all the top push clips, we have one more over here in the corner. So don't forget to get this one. And once this one's out, now we can remove the upper rad support cover and then get to our wiring harness. And now that we have all our push clips out, now we can take off and push forward a little bit and remove our grill cover here, which will give us access to the bolts that hold the grill in, plus the wiring harness for the shutter assembly. Now that we have our upper rad support cover off, we're going to remove our wiring harnesses. There's a Christmas tree push clip right here and our 2 electrical connectors right here. We're going to remove them. That way, when we take the upper 4 bolts out, the whole grill assembly can come right out. one. That's two. Now I just move this out of the way so it doesn't get caught. Next step is we're going to remove the plastic cover underneath the headlight. We're going to start by removing the two 7mm bolts inside the wheel well. That'll loosen this side up, and then we'll go to the front and start taking that apart. Now that we got our push clip out and our two bolts, we'll be able to remove this plastic. It's pretty much just grab a hold of it and give it a tug. And that's it. We're going to repeat the same procedure on the other side and remove the other plastic. So now we have our plastic panels off the front underneath the headlights. You have a rubber grommet here that's a gasket that shrouds the radiator. We're going to remove it. There's two Christmas tree clips here. We're going to use our clip tool. Just get in there, pop them out like that. Pop that one out. Now we can move that out of the way. So now that we have our weather seal gasket removed out of the way, there's two 8mm bolts, one on the bottom on each side, and then there's four top 10mm. We remove them, the grill will come right out. We'll repeat this on the other side, take the other 8mm bolt out. Now that we removed all the bolts that hold the grill on, we're basically going to just lift up on the grill a little bit. The shutter assembly and the grill will all come out in one piece, and now our grill's removed. Now that we got our grill removed, we have four 10mm nuts, a T30 Torx, and four push pins. Now remember, this grill is plastic, so I'm going to use a 1/4" drive to remove the four nuts. Then we'll go in with a T30 Torx and remove the centerpiece. Also remember that we're going to reuse the Ford emblem, so I have a microfiber towel down just so I don't scratch it. Again, this is plastic, so I want to use 1/4" drive. You got to go easy because it doesn't take much to strip it. So now after I remove the nut, it's a little tricky to get that washer out, so I'm going to use a magnetic tool just to reach down in there. Pull that washer right out just like that, and now we're going to repeat the same procedure on the other side. Now that we got the four outer nuts removed, we're going to go into the center of the grill. Down inside here, you'll see there's a T30 Torx. We're going to have to remove that and take that off. And again, if you have trouble reaching down in there, if you do have a magnetic tool, you can get the bolt out pretty easy just with that. It helps out a lot. Okay, now we spun our grill around, and on the top of the grill, you're going to see four push clips. We're going to use our clip removal tool, pull those four out. Now that we have our four nuts and our center Torx out, we'll be able to remove the shutter assembly from the grill. So now that everything's removed, we can lift our shutter assembly straight up off the old grill and then get to our Ford emblem that we have to remove to put onto the new grill. With the shutter assembly removed, now we can get to the three studs that hold on the Ford emblem. These are plastic. Remember, the nut actually starts its own thread on these, so I'm going to use 1/4" drive I do not recommend using any kind of power tools because they're very fragile and they can break real easy. So now we'll remove these so we can get ready to replace and put this on the new grill. And now that we have those off, we should be able to just lift up and off comes the new emblem. Now that we removed the Ford emblem from the old grill, we're going to reinstall it on the new grill. There's a couple different ways you could do this. The way I'm going to show you is by removing the clips that hold the centerpiece in that we put the new emblem on. If you want, you could try to put the emblem on and put a 10mm down through here. There could be a chance that you would break some of the plastic. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to remove these Phillips head screws, remove the centerpiece, put the Ford emblem on, and put it back together. Now that I have microfibers down so I don't scratch the finish of the new grill, there are 12 Phillips heads that hold the centerpiece in. I'm going to remove them. That way we can put the Ford emblem on and we don't take a chance of pushing stuff through, damaging the grill, damaging the emblem. I'm going to start over here, start removing them one at a time. Always remember when you're taking these grills apart, everything is plastic. So over tightening anything will break the studs or damage the grill. So I try to not use crazy amounts of force and feel when you're taking it apart that it doesn't feel like it's going to snap or break. And now we remove the last one, that way we can get the centerpiece removed. So now that I have all the Phillips head screws out, I'm going to roll the grill over. And for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put tape where the grill was placed. So I know it goes right back where it was on both sides. Now I can remove the centerpiece, just like that. Now I'm ready to install the new emblem. So now that I have the centerpiece out, it's going to make it a lot easier to slide the emblem underneath, install the emblem off the old grill. With the nuts that you took off, we're going to put them back on. Again, remember, these are self-threading nuts, which means you do not want to go tight. That's why I'm using 1/4" drive. If you use a 3/8 drive or any kind of impact gun, you take a chance of breaking them studs. They're only plastic. With that, I'll screw it back on. As soon as you feel it start to drag, it's pretty much when I let up. Now the old emblem is on the new grill. We're going to take the centerpiece and put it back in the grill, put our Phillips heads back in, and this grill, as far as the emblem goes, part of it is done. Now that the emblem's installed, I'm going to reinstall the centerpiece. I'm going to put it right back where I had my tape marks, so I know it was lined up exactly from the way it came. At that point, I'm going to roll the grill back over. Make sure you have your microfibers down. And I'm going to reinstall the Phillips heads so that the centerpiece is back in the grill. So I'm going to start installing my Phillips heads back where they came. Again, it's plastic. I keep reiterating that you don't have to tighten it too tight so that you do not damage the grill. Now that we have this side all done, they're all tight, I'm holding the centerpiece in, we're going to repeat the same procedure to the other side. Now that we reassembled the center part of the grill, we're going to go on to the LED lights. The kit does not give you the spade flat connectors that you're going to need. Later on in the installation, we're going to show how we install the wires into our driving lights so that we can run these LEDs. I'm going to show you right now how I strip the wires, and I'm going to install these spade connectors on there, so down later in the video where we do the installation, we'll be able to hook these up. Pretty much give a good amount of wire on both of them. Give them a good twist. I always bend the ends and fold it over. I think it makes for a better connection in the spade terminal. With them done, we're going to insert our spade connector inside. Like that. And with the crimping end of our crimpers, pretty good crimp. Our end's on, we're good to go. Do the other one and repeat the same to the next wire, and we'll start putting the shutter assembly on. Now that we got our flat spade connectors crimped on here, we're going to have to remove the 4 10mm nuts that come with the new grill. We're not going to reuse our old hardware. This grill supplies us new hardware, so we'll start removing them. That way we can start assembling and reinstalling the shutter assembly. So now we're going to remove our new hardware on our new grill. The old grill had 4 10mm nuts. The new grill has 4 8mm nuts. So we're going to remove each corner. That way we can reassemble our shutter assembly. And just repeat this on all 4 corners, then we can get ready to put our shutter assembly on. Now that we removed our new hardware, we're going to reinstall our shutter assembly. Pretty much just line up the 4 studs. There's 2 studs on the bottom that go into slots already into the assembly. Make sure that you get the shutter assembly to sit down onto all 4 of the studs. We'll reinstall our 8mm nuts, and we'll reinstall our 4 push clips. And this assembly with this grill, they do not give us a boss for our Torx bit that we took out of the old grill, so we will not be using that. So we'll button this up, and then we'll be ready to install it back onto our truck. Now that we have our shutter assembly sitting in place, we're going to reinstall our 4 push pins. Now just repeat this on the next 3. Now that we got our 4 push pins in the front, we're going to reinstall our new hardware, 8mm nut and washer. There's the top one and the bottom one, just like we disassembled. We'll get these started. I'm going to use my 1/4-inch drive ratchet to tighten them up. Again, it's plastic, so you don't have to go super tight with it. You don't want to break it. Get it good and snug. We'll repeat this same procedure on the other side. Now that we have our shutter assembly back and we have our grill all reassembled, we're going to reinstall it onto our truck. You're going to want to just lift up a little bit and put the top in, and you'll see how it sits down inside. And on the side of the grill, there are some clips that have to be pushed into place. And the grill will end up sitting right down on the side of the truck. So now that we got our grill reinstalled, we're going to put our 8mm bolt back down in the bottom, and we're going to reinstall our shield here with our 2 push clips. Now we'll reinstall our push clips with our shield. There's one up top, one down here in the bottom. Now we're going to repeat the same procedure on the other side. So now that we got our bottom 8mm bolts in and our shields on both sides with our push clips, we're going to reinstall our 4 10mm up top and reinstall our wiring harness. Make sure you remember to reinstall the wiring harness. It will throw a check engine light. I'm going to get them all started by hand. Now that we got our 4 top 10mm bolts in, we're going to reinstall our wiring harness, push our push clip in, install both harnesses. Now that we have our grill in place, we're going to reinstall our plastics. These just push back into place and they're held in with the 2 bolts that we took out in the disassembly. Now we can install our 2 7mm bolts that we took out. I'll get them started by hand. Snug them up. Now we have to put our push pin back in the top and the front facials on. Just repeat this procedure for the other side. Now that we got our 2 7mm bolts in the wheel well, we're going to finish the plastic installation by installing our push pin, and now the front plastic is on. You're just going to repeat the same procedure for the other side. Now that we got our front end back together, we're going to reinstall our LED lights in the front. We on this truck already have our connectors hooked up to our daytime running lights. Previously I put these spade connectors on. We're going to install this into them so that the lights come on with our daytime running lights. If you want the wiring harness that they give you, I try to tuck it up inside, make it look nice. You can use wire ties to keep it nice and neat, and we'll install this and these will come on and off with our daytime running lights. The 2 wires that we used came off the top plug in the headlight assembly. One's an orange and green and one's a yellow and black. Now that we have the wires hooked up, we can install our upper rad cover and the grill is all back in the truck. Now that we got our wiring harness hooked up for our LED lights, we're going to reinstall our radiator shroud cover and put our push pins in. Make sure we get it under the air inlet. And the last one we'll put on the side here. Hey guys, that's going to wrap up this review and install of the Red Rock 4x4 Baja upper replacement grill with LED lighting and gloss black for your 15 to 17 F-150 excluding Raptor. Thanks for watching, and for all things F-150, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.